He talks to you because I'm old.
And have you tried the prawn sandwiches at other shops? And they're not going to risk it. No, I'm just having a chat with people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are lonely in Britain. But if I said to you 9 million people in the UK were lonely, what would you say about that?
I find it incredible.
So I didn't realise it was suspicious, but something needs to change.
Making small connections every day is a way to help people combat loneliness. When normally you just be sat on your phone or whatever.
Yeah.
If you can just have little moments talking about prawn sandwiches, chat's free.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have to give a little bit of your sandwich, just a small amount. It's not going to happen.
I'm nearly 90,
You look fantastic.
I know.
It's good to talk.
That's it. Yeah.
I feel like we're friends now.
Yeah. Well, if you get a chance to make those little connections, then that'd be,
I think I might just go for a little walk around at some point today and actually say hello to someone.
I'd almost say it's been a pleasure.
Well, almost. You may see some people on my right-hand side who are now having a chat.
Yes.
Who weren't having a chat earlier.
I'm very just sat there impressing you. Yeah, I recognise it, but I can't remember where it was from.
There we are. Thanks very much for your attention there. And as I mentioned, we are going to be recording this session for internal purposes only. And I think that just really emphasises how it is easy. It's just you need to just remember to do these things. And even the other week, personally speaking, one of my colleagues noticed that I was a bit quiet and asked me if I was okay. And we went for a walk and it was just lots going on. And I really, really appreciated that. So it's just a small little thing can make all the difference to someone's day. So without further ado, I could just please remind everyone who is not speaking to be on mute, just so we don't have any background noise. I'm going to now hand you over to Hannah, not to Hannah, sorry, to Rebecca, who's going to be talking about our Compassionate Neighbours programme. Rebecca, over to you.
Hello. Right, I won't spend long doing this bit because the really interesting bit is straight after this. So I will talk to you a little bit about Compassionate Neighbours, which I run at North London Hospice. It is a community-led befriending programme, and it's been running for about 3 years, a bit more than 3 years now, 3.5 years, I think. It started at another hospice called St Joseph's in Hackney, and we were one of the early adopters when they received some funding to pilot whether it was something that was working really well because it was in a particular hospice or working well because it was in Hackney. So we've been running it since then, and it's grown an awful lot since I started, and it is the most wonderful thing I've ever worked on, and that is entirely down to the volunteers who are part of Compassionate Neighbours. We really run it as a co-produced model, so everyone is involved in decision making that goes on around Compassionate Neighbours. It's different to other models that I've worked on in the past, where they're much more traditional models where volunteers are told who they're going to visit, when, what the 3 different things that they're going to do while they're there, and everything goes through that service manager. Whereas with Compassionate Neighbours, the emphasis is on real relationships, so helping real relationships to thrive. And so I really introduce people, and where it goes from there is up to the people who are involved. There's no time limit set on it, so it goes on for as long as both people want it to. It's for people who are have some kind of life-limiting condition and would like a little bit of extra support. As probably most of you will know, loneliness is something that is subjective. So it doesn't mean that you don't have people around you necessarily. It means that there's a particular relationship that you feel like is missing in your connections at that point. And so this is where Compassionate Neighbours come in to be that listening ear, non-judgmental, really open to having sometimes difficult conversations, and just being an extra extra support at what is often a difficult time for lots of people. It operates in our 3 boroughs, so that's Barnet, Haringey and Enfield. We've got 114 active volunteers at the moment, and hopefully what you'll go on to hear will inspire you to sign up to our training, which starts next week, because we are always looking for new volunteers to join Compassionate Neighbours, because we are always getting new referrals. We've got a waiting list at the moment for people who would like to meet someone. So a little plug for that training. We have about 90 different contacts that are happening every week. And the range of activities that people are doing, the range of relationships is brilliant. So we have people who go cycling together. Some people go for a cup of coffee. Some people are in contact over Zoom. Some people speak on the phone. Really, how it pans out is entirely up to the people who are involved. And I think that's what makes it a really special thing to work on. In addition to the one-to-one matches that we have, we've also recently started some groups. So there's a range of activities that are happening mostly online and at the Health and Wellbeing Centre in Winchmore Hill at the moment, but we are hoping to expand those across our other boroughs at some point. So those are things like silk painting. We've got a fantastic knitting club. Straight after this, we've got our film club, which is online. And so there's a whole range of activities that people can join in with. So anyway, without further ado, I would love to introduce you to some of the people who are involved in Compassionate Neighbours and hear some of their stories, because really that is the interesting bit. It's not me blurbing on about, you know, what I'm doing. This is let's hear from the people who are involved. And so, shall we start with Trisha and Maggie? I thought we would. I think what I'll do is ask everyone to think about this one question. So I'll ask you a question each, and then you've all got about 4 minutes each to speak, and I'll try and interrupt you if I need to. But just to say before we start, thank you so much for offering to do this, because it really gives everyone a real flavour of what Compassionate Neighbours is all about, and what you all get from it, and how those connections are supporting your well-being. So Trisha, would you like to start? So the question is, can you describe what difference being a compassionate neighbour has made to your life? Please.
Well, speaking sort of specifically about my friend Maggie, is making a friendship that I wouldn't have made, because I wouldn't have met her. We're from totally different sort of fields, shall we say, but we've come together through your introduction, and I hope she'll endorse me on this. We get on like a house on fire. And for me, I became a compassionate neighbour, I've been a compassionate neighbour for 3 years now. And Maggie I've known for over a year, but there's somebody else in the community who I also have befriended, who I've known sort of right from the beginning, and that's a totally different relationship. But it's good that, you know, things are different. The first one sort of wants things doing for her, and wants support, and really wants a sort of a sounding board, which is absolutely fine. I'm happy to be that. Whereas with Maggie, it's been completely different. She's not looking for me to do things for her. She's accepted me as a new friend, which has been great, because I've learned about all sorts of things that I never would have heard of. We've had such a laugh together. She frightens me sometimes because she's so brave. And as I've said to her on more than one occasion, I don't want her to croak on my watch. Might not be very politically correct, but it's what a friend would say to somebody, that, you know, I don't want her to be doing things that are dangerous for her health. because I don't think she's got any fear. So for me, I'm self-employed, I work from home, and my life can be lonely because I was used to being, I had a business, lots of people, and when that closed, I did consultancy, I was in that, and then I decided to train as a coach and a colour therapist, and suddenly I'm working on my own from home. And although I've got clients, I felt I am lonely. And that's what made me decide to join Compassionate Neighbours, because it was also an opportunity for me to meet different people to those that were already in my circle. I don't know what else I can say, really. I think that hopefully that says enough.
Perhaps say something a little about the Compassionate Neighbour network and
yeah, I mean, the network is great, and what's also been lovely, obviously most of the last couple of years we've been in lockdown, but since the health and wellbeing centres opened up, I've been taking Maggie and I have gone there on a Monday to do the silk painting, and through that we've both met other people who aren't necessarily, I think I'm the only compassionate neighbour there, but all the other people are hospice patients or connections with the hospice. And particularly one lady who we are in contact with outside of the organized things, someone who has gone through a huge amount through cancer, is still very weak and needs friends. And she sort of found in both myself and Maggie another friend, and we've both found another friend. So I think the connections that are available through Compassionate Neighbours, it's not just the compassionate neighbour and the community member, it's the whole network. And the well-being that creates is fantastic. It really, really is. So I also do some of the training for Compassionate Neighbours, so I'll endorse what Rebecca said. I'm one of the 2 trainers for the sessions next week and the week after. So we'd love to see more people coming along. And that says it all about Compassionate Neighbours. It's not sort of them and us, it's us. It's all about the connection and the community and working together. And just all we do in the training, really, yes, there are some specific things we have to go through, but we all chip in. We invite other compassionate neighbours in so that those who are interested in training just hear loads of different experiences.
Because everyone has a different experience because everyone is meeting someone different.
Yeah, every single thing, and that's the beauty of it. My 2 community members, totally different experiences. It's as if they're totally different worlds, and I'm sure the next one I get involved with will be different again, and that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah. Maggie, should we come to you? How about you? How has meeting Trisha impacted your life?
Well, it's made a tremendous difference. I'm a cantankerous old moo. I made it quite clear at the start, if they expected me to talk to some do-gooder who talked to me like a dotty old lady.
I remember our first conversation.
And fortunately, you came up with Trish. And Trish and I hit it off straight away. She was intelligent. She could bat back at me as fast as I could bat at her, and it was good. And we suddenly found that we had lots of common points of contact in our minds and the way we thought. I know that sounds daft, but it made up for all the conversations that I have to put up with NHS do-gooders and people like that who come to the house. And they were the only people I was seeing on a regular basis, and they were driving me insane. And suddenly I had someone intelligent to talk to. I know that sounds rude, but it wasn't. It just made a world of difference to have someone outside. I was someone who was busy 24/7. I was a coach, I was an official, I was a committee member. It all came crashing down when I became too ill all of a sudden, and my husband died all of a sudden, and suddenly I was not only unable to do the things that I used to do, I didn't have my partner who I shared everything with. So I was doubly isolated, and I must admit I was going doolally, staring at the four walls and wondering, should I do myself in or just spend my whole life watching telly? I just lost everything. And suddenly I've got more now. I've got a lot more.
That's wonderful to hear. So I'm pleased everything worked out with you and Tricia.
Oh, and I do awful things, like when I'm out on my buggy, I say hello to people that I pass, and it shocks them. But I have had conversations on buses and all over the place, and I even have chats with my bank. I ring up early in the morning or late in the evening, and they're usually quiet. And we often have a nice chat about the weather in Leeds or Scotland.
Making a difference to their day as well, then, I should think, rather than getting shouted at like they do by lots of people, I'm sure.
Yes. Oh no, my bank's wonderful.
Thank you, Maggie. Right, then we will go on to, we've got a trio here. So we've got, where's Anne gone? Anne, are you still there? Oh yes, you moved around on my screen. Aha, that threw me. So Mumtaz is also one of our compassionate neighbours, and she has been involved almost from the beginning, I think, and has had lots of introductions over the years. And it would be lovely to hear a little bit about your friendship with Anne, and also your friendship with Andrew. But, let's start with you, Mumtaz, because then we can piece it all together. So how has becoming a compassionate neighbour made a difference to your well-being?
Well, my story starts with when we moved from Leeds. We used to live in Leeds in the same place, same job for 25 years. Then my husband Rashid got some illness, and there was no treatment for it. Anyway, our 3 kids lived in London, so they wanted to help. We moved to a flat in London. We got a really good GP who, because Rashid didn't have any treatment available, he referred us to the hospice, and that's where the story starts. It was just amazing because my husband was very annoyed that we had moved. He stopped playing golf, he stopped all his activities. So he was quite annoyed that we had moved. But since he started going to the hospice, it made a big difference to his life, because people were understanding him, talking to him. We were having lunch there, that sort of thing. So from there, I thought I would like to be part of this, and became a compassionate neighbor. So that's the story. Mm-hmm. And obviously, I have never seen Anne face to face, because we started this during the COVID thing. But I have been telephone supporting her, and we have developed quite a good understanding of each other and friendship. We're both interested in kind of books, and we talk about books, we discuss plays, and we're dying to meet each other face to face. So yeah, so I do get a lot out of these conversations, because of it. My husband died in August, sadly. So, but I do have the kids supporting me, and Andrew is another person who was. Shall I talk about Andrew?
Yeah.
Well, Rashik went through quite a few compassionate neighbors because he'd been ill for some 4 or 5 years, and different people would be coming and he would enjoy that. But Andrew was the last person he had before he died, and this somehow clicked immediately. They both were interested in sport and
Yeah, it might
books.
have been the cricket, mightn't it?
The cricket was the top of the list. So they'd be sitting there for hours just watching cricket silently, but really happy. It was a big deal for both of them. And yes, Andrew will tell the rest of the story. But the nicest thing is that since he's died, Andrew actually has been supporting me and the kids regularly. He's become part of the family. We go out to the park, do the various funny things on the machines in the park, all sorts of lovely things. So yes, I do see Andrew once a week at least, go for meals. So it's like a whole holistic support we are getting. My kids love him. Obviously he's become part of the family. So, yeah, so he will tell the part of it. So I think it's a brilliant system where we can become involved with each other, different people. I've got 4 community members, they're all so different, but I support them all over the phone, excepting one lady who I take her to the knitting group, and we have great fun. She's really fun person.
So much laughter that comes out of that group.
Yeah.
And a whole range of conversations.
Yeah, all 4 of my different community members are very different. One lady's totally blind, but she rings up to see if I'm all right after my husband died. So that's the kind of support we're getting from each other. So
yeah, it's truly reciprocal, isn't it?
it is. Yeah.
Andrew.
I'll stop there. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Andrew, would you like to say something about how, oh, you just muted yourself.
I wasn't sure which way around it goes, but fine. Yeah.
You know.
Right, well, just picking up on the theme of loneliness, I think one of the aspects of that is that when you are lonely, it's very difficult to think about anyone but yourself. And I think the pandemic's made that more difficult for people. And certainly since my wife died 5 years ago, nearly, there were times when I felt very, very isolated and very lonely. And so I think for me, being a compassionate neighbour has been a really positive experience. So I'm really pleased to have done it. And meeting Rashik and his family has been a really enriching experience for me. I mean, luckily we both had really good senses of humour. And there was one time which Mumtaz, we'll laugh at it, was he wanted to go to the bank. And I remember one of the things I was really struck by was that he was incredibly tolerant of me, because at times one of the really positive things was I had to really concentrate hard to understand him, and sometimes I'd just say, sorry, I'm not getting that. But anyway, he wanted to go to the bank and in his chair, and Mumtaz just kind of casually mentioned, just be careful he doesn't go in the road. And so we set off, and he went at high speed, really erratically, and we got to the bank, came back, and Mumtaz said I was quite grey when I came back, because I was terrified that not just that he might get run over, but also that he might mow down a pedestrian as well. So it was and then it was very, very sad and sudden that he died, and I wished I'd known him longer. And a strange coincidence that he actually died on the 4th anniversary of my wife dying, so that was another connection, I think. But Mumtaz and her family have been such lovely friends for me, and it's been very, it has been, I think, enriching is the word. Mumtaz is very wise, and I really appreciated her wisdom, in terms of, and I just find her and her daughters, and I've not seen my mood for a while, but just very, very kind and kind people and interested in me. So it's been lovely. And I would just slightly losing my thread, but I would want to pay tribute to Trish's training, because she was one of my trainers, and I found that really, really good. And it did kind of give you a very good focus about what you're wanting to get from it, and the importance of the relationship. And I think that there have been 3 people I've got to know. Clearly, Mumtaz and her family, and Rashik were the strongest relationships I've had. But there's one gentleman I take for a walk and play cards with, and contact's quite difficult outside because he's wearing a mask and he's very deaf. So we kind of point out trees and things. Then we come back to cards. He's 105 and he beats me constantly at cards. So that's one relationship. The other one was sadly a couple who sadly died. But again, that was different. I knew the wife of the gentleman I was supporting quite well, and I was allowing her to go out to for a break, and then I would sit with her husband and we'd talk about football. He was an Everton supporter, I supported Leeds, and we were both hoping that Burnley would get relegated rather than our 2 teams. So that game is very different. So it has been and I do find that when people do die, you do feel a real sense of loss and sadness. So I would agree with what Trish said. It is definitely a friendship that's developing, and it's been very enriching.
Thank you, Andrew. Finally, Anne, would you be able to tell us a little bit about how Compassionate Neighbours has made a difference, how your relationship with Mumtaz?
As Mumtaz said, we've not yet actually been able to meet, but we've been in phone contact quite a lot. It's always lovely when I pick the phone up and find it's a call from her, because I don't know, just from the beginning she's got this warm, accepting sort of voice, and I just love talking to her. We haven't met yet. We're hoping to. I mean, we keep hoping to, and then things happen and we can't. But hopefully, eventually, something will happen, because there's things we would like to share. I think, as everybody said, as Andrew was saying, this lockdown and all the rest. I mean, it's isolating enough being told that you've got cancer, but then my family. I've got family. I have got supportive family, but somehow the walls come in and rest on you a bit sometimes. I've also got people, I have quite a lot of church connections from going from way back, but of course you couldn't go to church. I mean, although people could talk to you on the phone, you didn't have that connection. And also, I think I must have done it myself sometimes to people. Also, you can see the people who don't quite know what to say to you. And they're not quite sure whether to offer you the consolations of religion, which I don't really want in terms of, never mind, you'll soon be dead. But it is difficult. Mumtaz just seems to be able to strike the right note. And I'm sure that is partly the training, but I'm also sure that is partly Mumtaz. You never feel. You feel as if you can skip the preliminaries. Yeah, all right. She knows I've got cancer. Okay, we don't need to go round that one anymore. We can get on to talking about things that we like, things that we share. One of these days I shall get down to Barrowell Green and actually blessed do something. But as I say, it keeps cropping up at the moment, one thing after another. My daughter's getting married in the summer, so we're going around like headless chickens trying to get that sorted at the moment. It is just, I don't know, it's just, you don't feel you have to explain things. You feel you're there, and whether it's all right, it's partly the training, but I'm sure it's also the sort of personality of people who come for that sort of training.
Yes.
I don't think you'd want to do it if you couldn't have the acceptance. I mean, I supported my mother through cancer, and I know it takes a lot out of you both ways. So, I really do value the fact that Mumtaz has been through all that she's been through, and there she is with time for other people. It's just a lovely. It's like more extended family, and it's lovely.
Oh, and I didn't brief anyone, by the way. No one has been told to say these things. This is
Just try
Can
in
I-
the plain brown envelope, remember?
Can I just add something to that? It's just to say that Rebecca and Debbie and all the people involved in matching us with, similar, it's brilliant, because Rebecca will say,
Yeah.
I've got this lady, she's got same interests as you, and really it works really well. So there's a lot of background stuff going on, which obviously Rebecca and people are doing. Hannah, Rebecca, Debbie, that's a lot of work they're already doing, but we are doing what we are enjoying doing, and it helps us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, we couldn't do it without you. Does anyone have any questions? Good. If you want more,
yeah, just one comment actually, Rebecca. Sorry, it just strikes me that it's really nice that we're all able to make new friends. I mean, obviously, it's just new. Nobody knows anything about you. It's nice just to start afresh with somebody new. You don't have to go through all of the preamble, and sometimes it's just nice to start afresh and meet somebody new at any age. Really, I think it's wonderful. Thanks for sharing.
yeah. Thanks, Orna. If you would like more information about Compassionate Neighbours, then there's a section on our website, so you can have a look there. And there's more training, as I said, that starts next Wednesday. Right then, next we are going on to Jilly, just to talk about the coffee roulette.
Yes, hi, I'm Jilly and I work as part of the volunteering team. I'm aware that some of the people on this call might be people from outside the hospice, so I have to apologise a bit because this section is aimed more at volunteers and staff working at the hospice. But if anybody's interested in finding out more about the coffee roulette and how to set something up, if you're interested in doing something similar at your organisation, then you can always get in touch. And if you get in touch via perhaps the Compassionate Neighbours email on our website, I'm sure Rebecca will be able to pass any queries to me. But as you know, this is really about Mental Health Awareness Week, and the theme is loneliness and overcoming isolation. So what we thought it might be quite nice to do is to give people an opportunity to meet somebody who they might otherwise not know. So we're actually organising the first ever North London Hospice Coffee Roulette, which is essentially a way of just being randomly matched with somebody in the organisation. It could be a volunteer, it could be a member of staff. If you've signed up via the Eventbrite invitation, you'll already have been given an option of actually being matched. But what we're going to do after this event is send an email to all staff and all volunteers, giving you a couple of weeks to get back to me to say whether or not you'd like to be matched. And if you would, then what I'll do is I'll pair you with somebody randomly and send you each other's details. And then you can just arrange in your own time. We'll give you about a month to just meet up with that person informally. It's really easy to organise because it could be just on the phone, it could be actually meeting in real life, it could be just meeting on Zoom or Teams, whichever way is easiest for you. And there's no prescriptive kind of conversation to have. It really is about the value of making new connections. We know that lots of people in the hospice don't really have an opportunity to really even sort of know who each other really is. So it's a chance to meet somebody new, to have a chat and to really just form connections. I think what's come across really strongly today is the value of connections. And as Orna just said, also really the joy of meeting new people. So I really hope that lots of people will participate and will actually, get kind of connected with somebody new. We'll then send you a very quick survey at the end of that month after you've had a chance to meet up, to see how it's gone and to see whether it's something that we might like to repeat in the future. So look out for that email, whether you're a member of staff or a volunteer, and I hope that you will all sign up for that. And I'm just going to hand back to Paul now, just to close today's session. So thank you.
Thanks, Jilly, and thank you, Rebecca, as well for facilitating this event. And thank you to each of our I can't even speak, contributors for sharing your stories. It's been, personally speaking, it's been a lovely session. I think it's been a nice way to spend the afternoon, and it was a real privilege hearing some of your stories. So thank you for sharing them. We've got 2 minutes before the close. Does anyone have any questions at all for any of the panelists? No, I've got one very quick question. If we could go around all of our compassionate neighbours, and if you could just say maybe in 1 or 2 words your top tips for making new connections. Does anyone have any top tips?
I would say big smile, first of all. Smile. If someone doesn't want to smile back, then that's fine. But normally, I tested myself a few years ago and decided I'd walk around smiling at everybody just to see what would happen. And some people looked at me as if I was some sort of nutcase. One particularly little old lady stopped and clutched my arm and said I'd made her day because she hadn't spoken to anybody or smiled at anybody. And that made me want to cry, never mind smile. And I'm quite shy, believe it or not, but I've always found that if I smile, someone will respond, and then it's easier to speak. So that's my thing. Smile first, then say hello, and then see what's happening. And it's like your next door neighbor. You know, if they tripped over and you saw them, you'd help them. Yeah, and it's same thing with a stranger. And yeah, you might get your head bitten off sometimes, but they say sticks and stones can't break your bones, so it's just worth it.
Brilliant, thank you, Tricia. That's really good advice, and I'm going to smile more and try and get my words out properly as well. And if no one has any further questions or comments, then I think we'll draw to a close. But thank you again, each and every one of you, for taking part in this. And this is just one initiative that is part of Mental Health Awareness Week. We are going to be following this up, as Gilly said. So thank you for your time today, and have a nice afternoon and keep smiling.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.